Okay. Feels good to be back once again. Your boy KORXKLL is in the building. I do apologize for starting almost an hour and a half late. A lot of things happened in between that time. So much stuff to talk about. Definitely excited to get to a lot of things that's been happening lately with Microsoft, Xbox, Phil Spencer, the fans, the community. It's just been hectic, hectic, hectic. I know you guys are tired of hearing about PlayStation. I know some of the Xbox fans are tired of hearing about it. So we're gonna jump into a lot of Xbox content today. Not too overwhelmingly much. It's late, but definitely enough to get the juices flowing and get you guys talking and thinking about some things that's happening at E3. Hopefully, you guys can hear me. Everything is coming through loud and clear. Go ahead and join the chat. I will try to do a Q&A after if anybody is still up and available. Right now, it's 11:30 p.m. on the East Coast. Feeling good, feeling lively, man. Had a good day today. Um, Finished watching the last of Naruto. You guys know I'm an anime fan, man, and I just watched the end of Naruto, which was it was a somber feeling, because I really love that series, and now that series is over. I'm glad that it ended on a note that I was, wanted it to end on. At the same time, I won't be able to see at least his story anymore. They're moving on to his son's story. So funny stuff, different subject, whatever. But listen, if you're joining the show right now, please give us a thumbs up. Very appreciative, very grateful for the support. I got some things that I want to show you guys. I can't show it to you because my laptop's acting up. But I got some things that I want to give out to my most loyal fans, most loyal listeners of Tick and Tick podcast and things like that. I will definitely be calling you guys out. You know who you are. I'm very appreciative of everything. So let me stop ranting. Let's get into the show. And when I get to the end, I'll talk a little bit about some of the things I want to give away. If you guys want it, which I think would be really cool as a gesture of my appreciation to you guys. So here we go. Hey, Expedite, you're now rocking with your boy KORXKLL, the last son of Planet Xbox, and you're listening to Super Podshots. Once again, it feels good to be back on the scene with the solo debut after about, I don't know, a month. It's been a minute since I've had my own airtime. I just been really working hard trying to get the network off the ground, trying to get the Trophy Life podcast, a Double XP podcast, Take podcast, Multiverse podcast, all those podcasts up on one channel, on one feed, which I finally been able to do. So you'll be able to soon catch those shows on iTunes and Google Play and all the apps and stuff like that out there for you guys who listen and follow us around the world. And I'm excited about that. So that should be hitting pretty much. I don't know when exactly. I applied for Google, so it should be coming through soon. Not Google. I applied for iTunes, so it should be coming through soon. But when it hits, you will definitely be the first to know and be able to catch all of those shows on one feed and one channel going forward, which is great. So let's jump into some Xbox talk. My man Phil Spencer came out today, did a lot of chatting on Twitter, and I was very excited about some of the things he had to say. So I want to address a few things, get you guys' opinions, get you guys' thoughts on some things. But this is what's buzzing right now for me when it comes to Xbox, and I'm really hype for what Xbox has to show. And it seems like we're going to be getting some things earlier than I expected. I'm not sure when. Maybe April, maybe May. I don't know. But according to Phil Spencer, it looks like we may be getting some things early. So somebody asked Phil whether or not, why doesn't he do something like an Xbox event or some sort of pre-event prior to E3? And one of the things he said was stay tuned for that. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. I've said this before. Phil Spencer had already felt that, they were going to do some sort of event prior to E3, probably announce Scorpio. I would love for them to do a spring event. One of the things that I recently found out was that they were going to be doing a ReCore Definitive Edition. I had a long talk with some of the guys on my team and guys like B Money 101 and Anchorman V about why make a definitive edition of ReCore. It's like, it's weird because it's one of those games where a lot of people felt they didn't beat it because it was just too much trying to get these prisms. A lot of people didn't beat it because of the bugs and stuff. Phil stated that the game sold pretty well. I don't know what pretty well means. I really don't. Maybe it sold pretty well for its budget. Obviously, it didn't sell extremely well, but making a definitive edition, what that tells me is that they are invested into this franchise. They feel like this franchise is something that could be special. They want to keep it a part of their portfolio, and making a definitive edition, just like they did for Ori, seems like they're trying to get more sales. They're trying to get more traction with this game. So putting out the DLC, putting out maybe a game that's not as bug filled as the first, and giving people a second opportunity to play the game would be, I guess, a big deal for them. What I'm hoping is that this is not shown at E3. E3. Much respect to all the fans out there who enjoy ReCore, and all the fans out there who appreciate what ReCore is. I myself have the game, but have not completely gotten into it yet. I played the first, 30 minutes to an hour of it. And from what I played, it's very exciting. It's very fun. The platforming is cool, but I didn't get as in depth as some people. So for whatever it is that they want to do with the game, whatever they want to accomplish, I really hope that it's successful, because just like them, I feel that this is one of the few franchises that they can capture the attention and hearts of the people with an action adventure platforming type title. They don't have a lot of those. So to me, it's really important that they get this unique title and continue to work on it. You're talking about the father of Mega Man, the developers of Metroid Prime. You have a great combination of talent that could really take this game really far. I think if they have a bigger budget, they don't try to push for an AA title or a budget title. I think that's where the title probably failed. They should have put everything behind it as a AAA title instead of trying to make it a budget title for $39.99. Making it a AAA title, giving it a bigger budget, giving it more time to develop, more time so it doesn't feel like a rush product, I think could be really special. Get more in depth with the game, put more time into the graphic fidelity of the game as well. I think could be really big for the franchise, and I'm hoping that that's a direction they take the franchise going forward, because I would hate for a franchise like that to just die out after one try. Feel differently, and that's what they want to do. So Phil talked about having an event earlier than E3. And I think it'd be great if Microsoft was able to do some sort of spring event, a spring showcase where they show off some indie games that we were expecting. I don't want to see a sizzle reel of indie games for 25 minutes or 15. I'm kind of exaggerating, but you know what I'm saying? I don't want to spend 5 to 10 minutes on indie games. Don't get me wrong. Some indie games are worth the time. Games like Cuphead, games like Ashen, games like Below. Obviously, if you have those titles, without question, show them. But I want them to feel as if they are AAA titles and they're backed like they're AAA titles. I think a lot of people were disappointed in We Happy Few. So when we first saw the title, everybody was excited. It reminded us of BioShock, and it really had this mysterious feeling to the game, and people were excited about it. And then they got their hands on it, and it wound up coming to preview, and it's not what people expected. It was a bit different than what people expected, and I think the hype for that died down pretty quickly. So what I'm hoping is that Microsoft is able to produce some sort of AAA title or some indie game that's perceived as a AAA title, or has some sort of backing to where the developers really have something promising, like an Ori and the Blind Forest or like a Max Curse of Brotherhood, that you could put up on there. But I don't want to see a sizzle reel of $10 titles and $5 titles and stuff like that of what's coming, 25 to 100 games that really you're not even going to know. They're going to glance through the screen at half a second per game, and I don't want to waste time on that. At E3, I want to see your bread and butter. I want to see what you got happening in 2017. I want to see what you have coming out in early 2018. I don't want to know what you have coming out in 2019, and I don't want to know what you have coming out in holiday of 2018. I want to see what I'm getting in fall, and I want to see what I'm getting in early winter of next year. This is the direction Microsoft needs to go going forward. They can't continue with dropping games at the end of the holiday season. And I know Xbox fans feel like this is what Microsoft should do. What's wrong with dropping, AAA games at the end of the season? Because All of the big AAA games come out for all the third parties at the end of the season. Microsoft doesn't have, I don't even know how to say it. Like, not even, I'll even say not even Sony at this point has the pull that it may have once had when it comes to AAA titles in the fall competing with your annual titles to casual gamers, your Call of Duties, your Battlefields, major titles like Red Dead Redemption, games like a Grand Theft Auto, games like Assassin's Creed. When those titles come out, it's stiff competition. It's stiff competition for your Halos, for your Forzas. Well, not really Forza, because Forza is a definitive racing game of this generation. If you don't know, at least Forza Horizon is. But you have to deal with your Forzas. You have to deal with, whatever titles you're releasing. Sea of Thieves. I don't think Sea of Thieves is a good title to drop around Red Dead Redemption. You are asking for a lot in that regard. I think Crackdown might be a great title to drop around the holiday season, but you got to drop that early before November. It has to be something you drop in October, maybe September, unless they have something up their sleeves. And Phil didn't allude to a megaton, but I mean, he could be keeping things close to the chest. What I like about Microsoft right now is that they are very, very, very silent, very quiet. It's got fans antsy. It's got me antsy. We're flipping out. You got some fans that's like, no, let's wait to E3. You got some of us fans that's like, listen, I'm tired of waiting. I'm tired of waiting to E3. I'm tired of waiting to fall. And I get that. Good friend of mine, Rand out Thor. You guys know him from TXR, as well as Mike P from TICGN wrote an article about Microsoft producing more controllers than exclusives, which I found actually pretty funny, even though I didn't agree with that theory, because you're talking about two different divisions. Hardware manufacturing is hardware manufacturing. It's not difficult to develop a game. It doesn't take 2 or 3, 4 years for a game to develop. You don't have to get a production team together, a writer together, a vision together. You're just getting hardware and parts, putting it together, slap on some colors, some designs, whatever, for something that's already designed, and you're pushing it out to the public. However, at the same time, I do understand, regardless of what people may think, those things still take resources. Those things take money. Whether each division has a budget, just like in anything, you can look at any country, you can look at any business. Sometimes you pull money from one thing to put into another. And if Microsoft has a budget, I'm pretty sure they're putting money into their hardware and their accessories department. And people may feel like they're putting too much time and too much money into that department instead of taking that money and putting it more into more games for the Xbox gamer. Now, I do understand that a lot of people feel Sony has pumped out a lot of titles. You got Xbox fans looking at this, they're getting upset. Some people, I'm not going to say all. Me personally, I honestly haven't really even paid attention much to it. I've been playing, I'll be honest with you, I haven't been playing anything on Xbox as of late. I actually was playing Horizon Zero Dawn, but actually stopped and had to play it in a week. Not that it's boring or I've lost interest. I've just been really busy with more important things at this point. But right now, that game has my attention because it's very similar to some of the games I like. You guys know, I said it before, when it comes to action adventure games and RPGs, the only type of, I guess you could say, ranged weapon I like to use is a crossbow. Just something about a crossbow and the silence of it and it being quiet and be able to hit somebody with a crossbow, whether you're aiming it high to get that angle on it for it to drop and hit somebody in the head to get a headshot, or, just walking around with it and then replenishing your arrows by picking it up, even though that doesn't happen in the game. I love that feeling. And I got that from Skyrim, playing a lot of Skyrim, one-handed sword plus bow and arrow. That was my type of character. Did a lot of stealth, did a lot of, I think the 3 branches or the 3 guilds that I did was the Dark Brotherhood, the Thieves Guild, and the Warriors Guild. Those are the 3 guilds that I followed. So it made me a very stealth crit hit type character. So I kind of like that. Same thing with Tomb Raider. I didn't play Far Cry, but a lot of people reference Far Cry as well. But Tomb Raider, I love the stealth part of it, sneaking up on people, taking them out, choking them out, stuff like that. So for me, it's very familiar when I'm playing Horizon Zero Dawn. And a lot of people are griping about Microsoft not having any games. This is the new thing, Microsoft not having any games. And my gripe wasn't that Microsoft never had games. What I griped about was what Microsoft had in the beginning of 2017. You know, some people are hyped up on Project Spark, not Project Spark, Phantom Dust, and some people are hyped up on Voodoo Vince. Me personally, I'm not. So for me, it's been a very boring few months, at least exclusively for Xbox. Third party wise, there's been some titles that dropped. I was hype on Mass Effect. I'm taking my time and picking it up now at this point. Um, it's just something where it's like, you know, something about Mass Effect just feels off to me. It's not to say that it's not a good game. It's not to say that I can't get into it. But right now, where I used to want to be able to get it day one, I feel like I could take my time on it and wait for it to drop in price just a bit. but but for the most part, uh, you know, Microsoft's early 2017 hasn't been fantastic. And prior years, they've released some titles that have caught people's interest, whether it was a preview program title like Ark Survival Evolved, whether it was a game like Quantum Break, whether it was Ori and the Blind Forest, whether it was Matt's Curse of Brotherhood. There were a lot of platforming or early indie titles or preview titles that released early in the year that really held you down or held you over, or some sort of beta, whether it was Gears or Halo, that you were able to play to hold you down. And we haven't gotten that this year. So for me, that was pretty much my issue when it came to that. However, I've always been hyped on E3. Just thinking about what they have up their sleeve, being so quiet, the concave beast is waiting to be awakened. And I really feel like Phil has something up his sleeve. I don't know what, but I'm really hyped for it. I'm really thinking they have something up their sleeve. So having this event possibly early, seeing what Scorpio is, getting it out the way says a lot for me. It says that they want to concentrate on first party. And one of the key things he said on Twitter today was, yes, first party was something they definitely wanted to concentrate on at E3. Along with that, someone asked him, how did he feel about third-party marketing? Because some people look at Sony, once again, doing this comparison thing, where they're looking at all the third-party marketing deals Sony has. Red Dead Redemption, they have Mass Effect, Call of Duty, they have possibly Star Wars Battlefront 2. You also have, what else was it? Red Dead Redemption, Star Wars Battlefront 2, and Destiny 2 at the end of the holiday season. And don't get me wrong, for some people, that's a big deal because it makes people look at your console and it makes people enticed to want to pick up that game on that console, especially if it has third-party exclusive DLC or timed DLC. At the same time, bro, I'm not one to, and someone said this to me earlier, probably, and more than likely was a PlayStation guy. One of the things he said to me earlier was, the things that entice him when it comes to games is the DLC. If there's DLC on a title, that's where he's going to go. I don't know if I believe that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I really believe that what he was saying was actually how he truly felt, but it could be possibly. I don't know. Me personally, I'm going to go wherever my friends are. If they bought the game on this console, that's where I'm going to buy the game because I want to be able to play with them. If it's a single player only title, then I'm more than likely I would pick it up for the platform that I prefer to play on because of the controller, because of the atmosphere, being in a party with my buddies. Again, goes back to being with friends. So for me, yes, Xbox is my preferred platform when it comes to third party and things. With PS4, I mainly just pick up exclusive, which is exactly what I have on that platform, or anything that's not on Xbox that intrigues me. So what he said was that, you know, working with third-party publishers is great, but he never understood why people put so much importance behind getting third-party publishing deals. And to me, that was huge. That's big words from Phil Spencer. For him to come out and say something like that is big words because repeated to him in a quote, quoting that line was that I think this is the right thing for Phil to do and for Phil to say. It's not to say that getting third parties aren't important for Xbox. However, they shouldn't be priority, especially at a time right now, when you really need to put not all your cards on the table, but all your aces and your kings on the table to show people that you got some stuff that you're going to be delivering that they can't get anywhere else other than Windows 10 and Xbox. That's it. That's really what they have to do. And I'm sure Scorpio is going to deliver. And I would not be surprised if they show Mass Effect on Scorpio and it looks like what we initially saw when we first saw it compared to what they showed now. How big would that be if Mass Effect looked like the reveal compared to what we're playing right now? Go back and look at the reveal of Mass Effect. Look at when the father walks in and touches that triangular orb or whatever it is, and he gets all the information. The scenes are significantly different. I'm talking about the amount of things in that. You could tell that was probably the PC version made for the PC, and it's just completely different in the console version. And I don't want to get on Mass Effect too much, but I think a lot of it just has to do with it trying to do too much, being open world, trying to explore different planets. The old Mass Effect wasn't that way. It was a very linear game. It was go to this point, go into this area, do your side missions. Every section was a loading section. It wasn't like you just transitioned to a new area. You went on the elevator, that was a load time. It loaded. If you went down to the bottom level of the Citadel, that was a loading screen. When you went to explore planets, you really didn't explore. You were either searching for resources or you got on the Mako and got resources. But for the most part, it was never really truly exploring any, just barren planet or fighting other animals. There's a lot of resources being put into other things. They also blame the engine on it, but it's just weird. It's very weird that situation is the way it is. So I would not be surprised if Scorpio was actually similar to the PC version. It looked drastically different from the Xbox One and regular PlayStation 4 version, or even the PS4 Pro version, at least based on what I'm hearing spec-wise with the Xbox Scorpio. So back to this third-party thing. So Phil talked about not really seeing why people put so much importance to the third party, especially when we will get Red Dead Redemption on Xbox. You will get Destiny 2 on Xbox. You will get Call of Duty on Xbox. And still to this day, Destiny 2 sold the most on Xbox in the States. COD sells still extremely well in the States. Madden and FIFA both sell extremely well in the States on the Xbox platform. And I think in the UK as well, they sell extremely well. Obviously, worldwide is a completely different story because you have to include Japan. You're including countries that Xbox isn't even in. But at the end of the day, those games sell even with the third-party support for PlayStation on the Xbox well in the territories that Xbox is big in. And that's good. That just tells you that, people put too much stock into third-party marketing deals. And that's just honestly the truth. Now, it's great to see your logo or see the platform that you're rooting for a logo on a particular game. But honestly, Microsoft is just better off putting that third-party marketing money into exclusives, as many console exclusives as they can to get on the Xbox platform and stuff like that. Shadow of War is a game that I think a lot of people tend to disregard when it comes to a third-party marketing deal that they're working with. That game is going to be one of the first titles that will be available for Scorpio and built for Scorpio. And that's a great marketing deal. And definitely with the Witcher deal, I would not be surprised to see Cyberpunk 2077 at E3 on Microsoft's floor to show it off for 2018 on Scorpio. Tell you right now, this will turn heads. This will turn heads. Microsoft shows off CD Projekt Red's Cyberpunk 2077 on the Xbox floor on Scorpio. That will turn heads, and people will be impressed with that. And it's one of the few companies I think Microsoft has a great relationship with. Very smart to work with those guys. And same thing with the Bethesda team. Whatever they're working on, I'm pretty sure they'll have a third-party deal. Not a third-party deal, but a third-party marketing deal with them. They've already had Fallout. They've had the Elder Scrolls series. Would not be surprised if this Bethesda's new series or franchise is a third-party marketing deal on Xbox. And that's something to show off on Scorpio too. So I wouldn't be surprised if these games happen to show up and really impress everybody. I would not be surprised, along with whatever Microsoft is going to show third-party wise at the at the E3 event. But prior to that, really important, Microsoft shows off whatever they have in the spring. People still waiting for Cuphead. People still waiting for Asher. People, Jesus, I've been waiting for Below since E3 2015. True story. Went directly to the dude who was at the Below booth. I played the game. Below is awesome. It's like you're a very small Link. And you walk into a cave and these enemies coming at you, and it's so dope. You get stabbed when you're walking. There's little puddles of blood behind you because you're leaking blood. You got to bandage yourself up. You have to, and even if you bandage yourself up, it won't stop you from dying. It will just slow you from dying. Like it slows the leakage of blood. You have to eat. You have to craft a meal and eat in order to stop yourself from bleeding. And if you die, your body dies in a particular area, but when a new character returns, because obviously you don't play as the same character if you die. If you die in the game, that's it. You just die. It's basically Dark Souls. You just die. That's the end of your character. New character comes in. You have to go back through the dungeon to where where you started from and get to your character. But the crazy part about that is that the actual game changes. The rooms are dynamic. It's a dynamic dungeon. So wherever your body was at last won't be there. It'll still be in that room, but you now have to re-explore the whole entire room to find your body and recover your equipment. And that's a task in a hand to try to get the things that you've recovered that you got throughout the course of, probably traversing the level and things like that in order to recover and continue on with the mission without dying. That's crazy. And I don't know what they're working on or why it's taking so long. Maybe they're trying to, change something, make it more epic, give it a better story. I just feel like a lot of these indie titles that they have been pushed back for improvements. Ashen is very similar. When I spoke to those guys as well, to the Dark Souls theme where you kind of have a character. If you die, you kind of start over, one of those things. Or whereas people in Dark Souls pop up in your game, even though they're not a co-op character, that happens in Ashen. And you can actually have those people come join you in your village and help improve your village and build things and stuff like that. It's crazy. Hard to explain. Definitely check it out on the red carpet below. But really important that really important that Microsoft goes out and continues to get these unique titles, but these titles have to release. You can't keep holding on to titles for months and months and months and months and months and things like that and never release. You can't continue to have a issue with partners where games aren't working out or they don't meet your expectations and you canceling the titles. It's not a good look. And honestly, I think a lot of people kind of blow that out of proportion because publishers cancel titles all the time. The problem is that these games have been public. And that's the biggest issue. If they're not public and you don't know about them, then they're no sweat off your brow. I don't know how many games Microsoft has canceled that were like MMORPGs that were just probably going to be amazing, but they canceled for whatever reason. Who knows? But because games like Scalebound, games like Fable were public, those games wound up getting canceled. Studios wound up getting shut down. It's no different than what Sony does. The only company we really know nothing about is Nintendo, because you're talking about keeping a secret. They know how to keep one. They really do. You really don't know what the hell is happening with Nintendo or anything like that most of the time. So it's definitely a slippery slope for Microsoft right now. They're kind of like at a point to where when they get to E3, they have an opportunity to rise like a phoenix. Return into a state to where the last 3 years nobody said nothing. And this was crazy. I said this on Twitter. 14, 15, 16, no one said nothing about what Microsoft didn't have, about them having no games. In spring, nothing AAA wise, but they had titles in spring. And at the end of the year, they always drop 3, 4, maybe 5 major titles. Either it could be a remaster title, it can be a smaller, big title like a Rare Replay or Gears Ultimate Edition. Then you had your AAA title, whether it was a Tomb Raider, like a third-party exclusive deal type of thing like that, Rise, Son of Rome, Sunset Overdrive. No one talked about 14, 15, 16, 17 hits. Xbox has no games. It's just funny. It's a funny situation. Xbox has no games at 17. But people tend to forget that, yes, they still have Crackdown. They still have State of Decay. They still have Sea of Thieves. I'm pretty sure whatever Forza that they're working on over there at Turn 10, I don't know what they're working on, but they have that title as well. You have, again, Halo Wars 2 drop. People tend to forget Halo Wars 2 was actually the number one selling game in February. I'm not saying that's a major accomplishment. It's not a lot of games that sell in February. But a lot of people who feel like Xbox doesn't sell games, that's a big deal. I really didn't think Halo Wars 2 was going to sell at all. Literally, I really did not think it was going to sell. I don't like RTSs, and I didn't buy the game. So I really didn't think it was going to sell. But surprisingly, it did pretty well, and it sold. How much it sold, I don't know. I really don't keep up with numbers like that when it comes to certain sales. But it did well, and it sold pretty well, and it's being supported across both PC and Xbox. And that's great. That's great for those guys over at who's that? Not Ensemble. I can't remember. Assembly. I don't remember the company that makes the game. But that's great for those guys. Another note: at the end of the year, you have all these titles coming out. So here's the thing: Microsoft announces another major title to release this year. I don't see them dropping anything, and this is the God honest truth. This is how I truly feel. Between E3 and the end of 2017, now let's just be honest here for 1 second, Xbox guys. Just be honest. I don't see them dropping multiple games that we don't know about the rest of this year. I don't see it happening. I think that a lot of titles that we will see that will be brand new will be early 2018 and probably winter 2018. I think that's where Microsoft has their maybe PlayStation moment where some titles got pushed. You know what I'm saying? I don't think the games that they got coming out at the end of the year will be pushed into 2017, but I think a lot of games that they've been building up will be out into 2018 and beyond. And I think from there on, you'll wind up getting new titles over and over and over and over again, with now Phil's library of titles and signees and sign-offs dropping 2018 and beyond until, Scorpio becomes the main console, and then the next, console comes out and those games are running on the next Scorpio 2 or whatever it is. So it's just a thing where I think at the end of the year, you might get maybe one new IP. And the question is, how do you drop those titles? It's rare that they drop titles in summer. It's rare to get a game in July. Definitely can get a game in August. I think a title like State of Decay, which will probably drop in October because it's a zombie game and it's a holiday title, and it's October is Halloween. I can see that dropping then. Crackdown 3 could definitely be a November title, but I would not want to drop it around. I would not want to drop Crackdown around anything to do with Rockstar. I don't care. Rockstar could put out ping pong, not dropping any game around any Rockstar title. Let's just keep it 100. You want to take that title, you want to put that either in September or October with State of Decay. You drop Forza in September, whatever Forza is going to be, and then you have Sea of Thieves in August. Rare has done well in August. You have Rare Replay in August of 2000, and I think it was 15 it was, and now you should have Sea of Thieves in August of 2017. And then if you have another major title, I don't know what that title could be. If it's major, big, megaton, then maybe you drop it in November. But you're talking about dealing with Call of Duty. You're talking about possibly dealing with Red Dead Redemption. You're talking about Destiny 2. Major, big multi-plat titles that have mega followings around that time. You don't want to put any new IPs around November. Just stay away from November. And that's why it's not good to have these games cluttered up around fall season. Maybe shoot for December after November, like they did with Dead Rising 4, even though Dead Rising 4 didn't do well. And that's not because the title was exclusive, more because the title was just BS, honestly. So really important that they try to plan out the best way to put these games out, um, the way they can without, I guess you could say, bumping into or making sure they avoid those major multi-plat titles that people are going to clamor for, because they're going to make decisions. They're going to have fans that make decisions. Do I want to get this game, or do I want to get Destiny? Do I want to get this game, or do I want to get COD? Do I want to get this game, or do I want to get Red Dead Redemption? 9 times out of 10, we all know multi-plats do extremely well. So I would definitely move those games between December, skip November, October, and things like that. I know Xbox wants to try to shoot for the Black Friday stuff. Hey, just might be something you gotta might have to take a hit on as far as that is concerned. So man, it's a lot of things Phil's been talking about lately. He's talking about, showing things early, putting up events, focusing on IPs, less third party involvement, which is great. This is great. And even acknowledging that's, what they have had lately may not be up to snuff when it comes to the number of titles. I still think, and he even addressed a while ago, like I said on the last Tick podcast, he even addressed new studios. I don't know what they're going to announce, how they're going to talk about these new studios or whatever, but I'm sure they have a team. I'm sure they have a staff put together to finally announce some new studios that they definitely need over at Microsoft. Because again, I've never been a fan of the third party thing. Spoke to Phil about this one time, one-on-one. And, one of the things he spoke about was that it kind of didn't matter whether it was first party or third party, as long as the title that was developed by a creative team, like a smart, a good team, and it was a first party IP. And I get that. I understand that 100%. But you look at Scalebound, you look at that title. If that's made by a first party studio, that type of title can go into a high, kind of like what's the name of that game that flopped? Last Guardian. It can go into a Last Guardian mode where it can kind of sit until you get the right time and the right strategy to work on that game. So if you're able to work on that game because it's first party, you can do that. You can put that game in hiatus. You can't do that with third party. Platinum's got to move on. They've got a whole bunch of other slate of games that they're working on that they've got to put out. So, I'm not a fan of it. It's the same thing with Remedy. You got Remedy working on Quantum Break. Quantum Break is done. Quantum Break was supposed to be, and I swear to you, you can look this up. You can Google it. Quantum Break was meant to be a trilogy. It absolutely was. The game did so bad. They made the game closed-ended. So that way, if you beat the game, they wouldn't have to worry about making a part 2 or a part 3, because that's just the end of the game if the game flopped or the game didn't do well. And according to most people, it didn't do well. So we probably will never see another Quantum Break. I don't know if Microsoft will ever invest in it again. We may get an Alan Wake. I could see that happening because there's such a cult following for that title. But I don't know if we'll ever get a Quantum Break again. And then, you talk about working with third-party exclusives, timed exclusive, which I've never been a fan of, with Dead Rising 4 or a Tomb Raider. Listen, put that money where it's supposed to go. Put it where it's supposed to go. I think Phil's done that. He came in 2014. He righted the ship. He got everything. So I think a lot of people tend to forget what Phil did because of what's happening now in 2017. People tend to forget that Phil righted Microsoft's ship. That ship was about to crash into the seawall, and he was able to turn it around before it got caught in the reef. And it's the truth. Moved everything from behind the paywall. The people forget that Netflix was behind the paywall and Hulu and all those apps were behind the paywall. All those things got removed. You know what I'm saying? You talk about a lot of these titles really being under the Don Matrick era. Yes, Phil was a part of the studio, head of Microsoft's first party studios and stuff like that, and getting games for the first party studio part of it. But Matrick is the one that has to sign off on it. There are games that Matrick declines, and there are games that Matrick signs off. And I don't know if Matrick really had a hand in the way Phil did. You're talking about Phil going to Japan to talk to developers. I've never heard Don Matrick do that before. I've never once heard Don Matrick leave Microsoft to go actually try to communicate or work out some sort of deal or talk to other developers. Clearly, it's been Phil. It's the reason why when Phil became head, so much of the industry cheered him on and thought that it was the right move for Xbox. And it was the right move for Xbox. Now, I think Satya Nadella plays a role in the direction that Xbox goes. I think this whole Windows 10 PC thing is a Satya Nadella thing to appease the board. And this is why I had my rant when I talked about I feel like Microsoft kind of hinders Xbox more than it helps. At the same time, I understand the hole that Xbox had to climb out of, and software sells. Got into an argument today with somebody about software. I'm like on a roll right now. Got into an argument today about software and is it smart to put these games on PC? Do I like it? Absolutely not. I think that it hurts Xbox identity. However, titles are behind the Windows 10 paywall. You have to get them from the Windows Store. Microsoft has done their best to try to keep things in their own ecosystem, and that makes sense. It's the same thing that PlayStation Now is doing. The games aren't just out to purchase with PlayStation, from any store or the PS Store and download the PC. It's behind their streaming service, and I guarantee you their streaming service will improve over time. And those games will run at 1080 at 60 frames per second and meet the standards that the console meets for the people who want to play those games on PC. Microsoft, on the other hand, has allowed some of their titles to hit. Meanwhile, Game Pass, which is only $10 a month, that gives you access to 100 games, is only on Xbox. It's a huge incentive if you're a parent to buy Xbox and this Game Pass thing for $100 at $10 a month. It's a crazy incentive. And I don't know if that's what Sony did to combat it. I don't really think it was. I have my own theories behind what Sony did, but Microsoft and this Game Pass thing was very smart, and things like that. So very crazy situation with Microsoft and what they're trying to do. But I think Phil righted the ship. He's on the right path and getting things done. I think people are underestimating Xbox. I really think they're underestimating Xbox. People see the little studios that they have and think that Phil's just sitting, twiddling his thumbs and sitting on his laurels. You can't do that with the Xbox fan base. Maybe the PlayStation fan base can do that. And no disrespect to the PlayStation guys out there, but you can't do that with the Xbox fan base. Guys are just too freaking vocal. We're too vocal. We're going to express ourselves. Even the people who hate Xbox will express themselves to Phil. Why I hate you. That's motivation enough to go out and do the best you can to bring the best you can to your platform, which is why I think E3 is going to be a big deal for Xbox. Whether people believe me or not, that's up to you. I'm being logical, being real. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat things for the fans or anything like that, or for the guys out there who may love PlayStation on the channel and support Trophy Life and now listen to Super Podshots. First of all, thank you for tuning in. But I just don't see that happening. I think Phil has some things up his sleeve. He's been talking a lot. And he does talk a lot, but that's because fans ask him. It's not like he's coming out saying, oh, man, I can't wait for E3 2017. I got some things to show you. That's not what he's doing. I say, oh, why does Phil keep talking? Oh, he talks too much. Oh, my God, he's a PR guy. People have no idea what this man has been through, how long he's been in the industry, what games he's worked on. People have no idea. At the same time, the man is willing to answer questions to his fan base, the head of Xbox, okay? Not your Andrew House, you know what I'm saying? Not your, whoever the other dude is. I don't know what his name is. Whatever the dude with the suit jacket on all the time and the round face, whatever his name is, he's not answering questions. You're talking about the head of Xbox is answering your questions and trying to give you the best thing or the best answer he can give you without giving away what he has up his sleeve. And this is why the Xbox fans, the true Xbox fans, love Xbox the way they do, because guys like that are there to let you know that they care. They're not just some suits taking your money, trying to just do things with the money that you give them. When Phil said that cutting off Scalebound was the right decision for the gamers, I had that tweet on my timeline. I had 2,000 hate tweets for Phil Spencer. 2,000 hate tweets for Phil Spencer that day. And you're going to see at E3 why dropping Scalebound was better for the gamer. So it would be crazy if that was to happen. I think that's a pretty big deal, honestly. So listen, man, I want to thank everybody for stopping out. I'm going to cut the show a little bit short tonight. Let me see where I'm at, 45. Only because I want to try to get some questions in with the fans. It's been a minute since I've been able to talk to you guys. I've been doing the Tick podcast thing for a while now and stuff like that. Once again, I want to thank everybody for coming out and supporting Super Podshots in my return to the open microphone. Been doing a lot of things with Tick Podcast, TICGN, and things like that. A lot of fans appreciate the support as usual. I'm definitely going to try to put up some sort of Patreon or donation. If you love us, man, and you really think we're doing it right, and you support what we're doing as a network and as a podcast, I hope that when I am able to get the Patreon or the PayPal up for donations, you guys are willing to donate. Whatever it is, it could be 50 cents, it could be $1. The whole point is that, I would like to improve what we're doing as a group in quality for you guys, whether it's getting guys Elgatos for overlays or improving our mic quality or getting guys to improve our videos when we do interviews with E3 and stuff like that. Whatever it is, whatever I can do to help the quality that we are putting out for you guys, I hope you guys are willing to support us with a few, donations. If we get 1,000 views, $1 a piece would just be phenomenal. It would help us go a long way. And that won't be, I don't know when it will be, but I'll put it up at some point. So it would be greatly appreciated. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and end the show for the MP3 crowd. Again, if you want to catch this episode of Super Podshots, you can tune in to Tick Podcast, TIC Podcast as one word, and Google it with iTunes, and our whole thing will pop up. You will see Tick Podcast on iTunes or Google or any app if you don't have iTunes, and you'll be able to get the Tick Podcast feed on your cell phone or iPad or whatever you have to listen to our show on. And you'll get all the last shows. Now, that Tick Podcast channel will be a strictly Xbox feed. I'm not going to get rid of that feed. That feed is for the Xbox fans that's always supported us and only want that Xbox content. That's where you will get that on the Tick Podcast feed. On the Tick Network feed, we have that feed hitting very soon. You'll be able to get all 4 network shows: Tick Podcast, the Xbox show, Trophy Life, the PlayStation show, Double XP Podcast, the debate show, and of course, Multiverse, our multi-platform movie, video, comic book show, all on one network in order weekly. Talk about 4 episodes a week. You'll never be bored, whether you go to work or you're on your way to school. So that's going to be great. And very quickly, listen, we got 43 people in here. Very appreciative of everybody. Please give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I really don't care. Just let me know you're listening, whether you appreciate the show or not. Share it out with your buddies. Be greatly appreciated. For my most loyal fans that have been with me for day one, man, I got some stuff. I want to give away some things to you guys I got from E3 in 2016. I got some cool stuff. I got 2 Recore shirts. I want to definitely get in contact with Louis Shark. Definitely want to get in with Democles, Showan. Oh man, I can't think off the top of my head. There's some guys' names I can't think off the top of my head, but you guys know who you are, man. I can't think. What is his name? I can't think. I'm at a loss for words right now, but I know when I see the names, I know who you guys are. I got some things for you guys. I'm going to try to email you. I just said email. This is how much of a technological age we are in. I'm going to try to mail these things to you guys free of charge. just to show my appreciation for all your support and always supporting us and stuff like that. So got some cool Dead Rising 4 socks. I got a Persona 5 bag. So if any PlayStation fans out there that wants to support Super Podshots or Tick Podcast, you can get yourself a free Persona bag. I don't know who you are, obviously. I got a cool Bethesda shirt, Mac shirt. I got a from Recore. What's the big robot name? I can't remember his name. I know I got the dog and I got the robot. Oh, I got 2 Sea of Thieves shirts, which is pretty dope. An all black one with a snake on it. Oh, I can't think, man. It's a lot. It's a lot of stuff. I got a Breath of the Wild lanyard. How many fans would want that? That would be pretty crazy. But anyway, I digress. That's the end of the show. I'm going to go ahead and start the Q&A. I'm going to end the show for the MP3 crowd. Very grateful for everybody for stopping out. I'm your boy, KORXKLL, the last son of planet Xbox, and I'm off this planet. Peace. All right. So, again, want to thank everybody for stopping out. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave your questions up. I will definitely do my best to try to answer your questions. Man, let's see here. Hey, what's going on, Fallout? Sword, what's up? Drunken Master, thank you, brother. I appreciate it. De Niro Primero. Email you the shirt. I know, my bad. Zedpo1. Right now, Quantum Break is in the top 40 paid games. Now, that's great to know. At least it's in the top 40. Was that in the top 40 worldwide or in the US? That's the question. If it's the US, I don't think that's a good thing. If it's worldwide, that's a whole nother story. Foul Dive again. Hey, what's up, Foul? Hey, listen, man, I got you, bro. I got you. I don't know what I'll have. I don't know if I have enough stuff, man. I definitely want to get you something, but I got some pins. I got some Xbox pins. I got a nice little Recore pin. I got some things to give away, man. Definitely. I definitely want to really thank those guys who have been with us since day one, has always stuck with us, whether they agreed with us or not. They never turned their backs on us. They never tried to diss us or, throw us in the dirt and stuff like that. They just respected our opinion and they kept it real with us. So very appreciative. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and start leaving those questions. I'll try my best to answer them before it gets too late. Let's see here. Make sure you guys check out the Double XP podcast. They had Hip Hop Gamer on there, and I appreciate hip hop coming out without question. Weird though, because I had asked him to come on Tech Podcast a few times. I think he kind of avoided me. I don't know why he avoided coming on a Xbox only podcast. Because I remember meeting him at E3 2015 for the first time, and we were both cool. Like, we both literally came from the same hood, like the same hood, East New York, Brownsville. We both grew up in that area, and then we both moved to Queens and lived literally 10 blocks away from each other. And I had no idea who he was. He didn't know who I was, which was funny to me. And I seen him at E3. I'm like, yeah, man, you got to come on my show. I want to talk to you about some stuff and stuff like this. This is when I was real green, man. This was like 2015. We were only like a few months in doing a Tick podcast. So having a guy like that on the show to me was a big deal at the time. And, he was like, yeah. He said, why you only do an Xbox show? I'm like, because that's my console, man. Why not? The fans support me. The execs support me. Why wouldn't I give them a show that is something positive for them to listen to? And I remember him saying, nah, man, you gotta be able to hit everybody and spread out and stuff like that. And literally a few months later, he made a whole rap song dissing Xbox. I'm like, what is this? He said a man gave me a speech about being a neutral, and you making rap songs dissing Xbox. Come on, son. Come on, bruh. Come on, son. It's just funny stuff. De Niro Primero says, we know Scorpio won't have exclusive games, but do you think it'll have exclusive features? So, for example, let's say picture-in-picture or things of that nature. Well, they already have an exclusive feature, 4K 60 frames per second DVR. You're not getting that on Xbox. That's for sure. I don't know, man. I think Scorpio will have the features that allow the console to present its games in the best quality possible. I don't know what you can do feature wise that will be a step up over Xbox One. Like, what could Scorpio do? Don't get me wrong, CPU wise, yeah, you're gonna have a way more powerful CPU, much faster. Um, but what can you do that would be so much better than Scorpio? I don't know what you can do. I still to this day wish they would do Movie Party. I don't know why I'm clamoring for this thing for so much. I just swear to God, if they do Movie Party, I will love Microsoft forever. I don't care if they drop no exclusives. Like, seriously, I would just buy an Xbox because they have Movie Party, because I love to watch anime, and I would just throw all types of events. I would have, all right, we're doing Game of Thrones night. And we're doing, did you see this new show, American Gods on Stars? What? I gotta watch that. That's sick. But yeah, man, I don't know what type of shows they would I mean, not shows. I don't know what type of features they would add that would really, like, could only be done on Scorpio. I don't know. I don't know. I don't see it happening, honestly. De Niro Primero asks, after expanding Cuphead and it needed to be hand drawn, I understand why it's taking a while. Yeah, definitely, man. Went to E3 2016, got a chance to talk with those guys, interviewed them. Um, I mean, if you just think of like Contra, I mean, that's what it's like, bro. It's really like that. There's like drops. You can get rapid fire, spread fire. You got guys doing flips, dashes in midair. You get all types of things coming at you: flowers, carrots, peas. I don't. It's just weird. It's a weird get, like, seriously, this is the type of game that if you played enough, it will give you nightmares. Like, you ever seen like those weird nightmares where everything is really nice, but it's really evil? You know what I'm saying? Like the rabbit is really nice, but that rabbit will kill you. Like, that rabbit would tear you to shreds. That's the type of things that would hit you in your head after playing Cuphead, because these things look so, they're so nice looking, but they're so demonic. Like, the devil is involved. They made a deal with the devil. That's a crazy situation for Cuphead. Making a deal with the devil and then having to try to fight through that to get to the devil to defeat him. It's insane. That's pretty crazy, man. It's sick though, but it's dope. I have if you check out our video section or our playlist section and you go to E3 2016, I have gameplay of Cuphead up. And you can look at it and see some of the stuff that they were doing, like the two characters at the same time, one guy up top, one guy down low. You got guys flipping over bullets coming from the ground, coming from above. You have like shots just flying everywhere. They're shooting from their thumbs. One dude is shooting rapid fire. You can actually hold and generate like a burst cannon. Yo, it's sick. It's going to be crazy. And it's all hand drawn, like this 1930 style. It's like crazy. The music is like that. It's like weird. It's like Popeye on steroids. It's like, it's just bananas. Xbox Live Dynamite says 4K is great, but would you be okay with 4K 30 frames per second? To me, it would be a bit of a bummer because after a while, the 4K novelty will wear off and then we're left with playing 30 frames per second. I don't see us getting 30 frames per second. I think Microsoft beefed up the CPU so they don't get 30 frames per second. Most of their games, honestly, are actually 60 frames per second. So how could they downgrade? Why would they downgrade? If we're getting 30 frames per second, it's not from Xbox. It's going to be coming from a third party. And you can't control what a third party does. If they feel like they want to put all the power into their graphics, then by all means do so. If the game is 30 frames per second, that's fine. Depending on what the title is. If it's not a shooter, first person, if it's not a third person shooter or a racing title, I don't see what the problem is with 30 frames per second, as long as the graphic fidelity is insane. But most of Xbox games are 60 frames per second. Except for Forza Horizon. All their big titles are 60 frames per second. Gears, Halo, Forza. I'm pretty sure Crackdown is going to be 60 frames. Well, Crackdown may be 30 because it's doing a lot of destruction and they're using the cloud and all that stuff like that. So they might be 30. But CFDs, I heard, is going to be 60. There's a lot of games that are 60 frames per second coming from Xbox. They really concentrate on the CPU side of things because that's what their console, the Xbox One, was really good at. A lot of people tend to forget the Xbox One CPU was upclocked and supposedly was slightly better than PS4's. So the whole 60 frames per second thing was big with Microsoft. It was the resolution problem because they didn't have enough shaders where it really hurt the platform. So they use a lot of dynamic resolution. And having that dynamic resolution will help them when it comes to Scorpio because that will dynamically scale directly to 4K. And the frames will sit there at 60. So that's great for Scorpio and great for Microsoft. The bigger question is, will we get 4K textures? That's the bigger question. Because after talking to Albert Pernello, which we had the interview right on the front page, talking to Albert Pernello, the keyword he stated was, can they produce 4K 60 frames per second uncompromised at the fidelity of games today? That depends on what games we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? Mass Effect, which really isn't a looker as it used to be. The environments look great though, but isn't as, I guess, fantastic as it in comparison to what it looked like when it came out on 360 during its time, compared to it coming out now during this generation and Andromeda's time. I think that the 360 version during this time was really a graphical masterpiece, but it also was a linear title. This being more open world, more exploring, I think they degraded the graphics and it shows. So I think that's why a lot of fans were kind of surprised at how it looked and why it looked downgraded. But if you take a game like that, or another beautiful, graphically impressive game, and it's 60 frames per second, then really all you're trying to do is, can you increase the textures of that title to make it look even better beyond what PC is doing? And I'm not saying ultra settings, that's not what I'm saying, but trying to get textures to 4K is really the key. They're saying at the graphical fidelity of games today, if a game looks amazing and you can get 4K and 60 frames per second and the game looks amazing already on the Xbox One, then that would be great. That would just look even better, more impressive. But I think from what Phil said, Scorpio is going to be a monster. It's going to be, and this is God honest, is exactly what he said. It literally is going to be pretty much in a class by itself. From the boss, from the box father himself, Scorpio will be pretty much in the class by itself. That says a lot. That says a lot. So they better freaking deliver. I don't like this true 4K slogan. I really don't like it, but they better freaking deliver. I'm telling you right now, it's going to be crazy. Let's see. Zedpo says, do you think Xbox gets their own horror game? I don't know, but they need one. I wouldn't buy it. I don't play horror games. Everybody knows me. They know I don't play horror games, bro. Can't do it. I'm struggling to play The Last of Us right now, and it's not even scary. I just can't deal with the pop scares. It's just too much. I'll be sweating. but they need one. They need one for that genre, or they need some sort of action RPG. There's some games that, I'm not saying they have to grab reboots, but they could definitely take inspiration from their own portfolio throughout history. Otage would be an amazing game to take some sort of steps from. Doesn't have to follow Neo. It doesn't have to follow the Animusha way, but Otage, you're a demon hunting demons, would be a great way to introduce, even though they don't own that franchise, that's owned by Sega, I believe, would be a great way to work on a title similar to that, where you're a demon hunting demons and you're dealing with monsters and stuff like that. And that would be great. It'd be something that it would actually kill two birds with one stone. They would get their hack and slash and their horror genre in one. And I think that would be pretty cool if they were able to do that. But if not, I don't know about a survival horror, but something more suspenseful and that's a thriller like a Condemned, which is also made by Sega, would be something that they should look at and consider building a studio around, that can make an action adventure game and a horror game, kind of like both two games for one studio. They definitely need to have more studios that produce two titles instead of one title apiece. Definitely. D21 Exclusive says, so will Rare announce multiple new IPs this E3? I believe they will. Rumor has it that they may possibly, we already know about Sea of Thieves, they may possibly be announcing a new Perfect Dark and a new Battletoads. That's the rumor. And that's what I've been hearing. I'm not saying it's 100% true. A rumor is a rumor for a reason. That's why I'm saying it's a rumor. So if it don't pop up at E3, don't Mr. X me, okay? I'm not guaranteeing nothing, anything like that. I'm just letting you know this is what I heard from a source, that they may possibly show off a new Perfect Dark, and they may possibly show off a new Battletoads title, which will actually be a budget title you can pick up for like, 29, 39.99 with Battletoads because it's a brawler. And then Perfect Dark may be a new action adventure title, third person, not first person. That's what I've been hearing. And we spoke with Ken Lobb about that as well. I suggested that, and he said that him and his team had also thought of making Perfect Dark a third person action adventure stealth title as well. So I guess you could think like Metal Gear Solid meets Joanna Dark, more serious in tone, hopefully more serious graphically. They could really use a title like that. That'd be big for them. It would give them the stealth genre, which is something that they are sorely missing because we haven't had a what's the name of that game? Oh my gosh, something Theory. What's the name of that game, guys? Theory. Oh my god, I can't remember the game. It's I can't remember. But you guys know what I'm talking about. The competition between Metal Gear Solid and that game with the guy with the freaking eyes. Not the eyes, the three green the night vision goggles. Why am I struggling right now? I don't know. I can't remember the game. But yeah, something along that genre would be good. Okay. Fallout Boy says, is it just me, or would you be a bit disappointed with Scorpio at $399 or a bit more powerful than PS4? I really want Scorpio to be 500, 600, and beast it out. Leave the 1S for the El Cheapos. I 100% agree. This is the reason why I don't want it to be $399. If the console comes in at $399, I feel that console is going to be disappointing. That's exactly, I 100% agree with Fallout Boys. It's the reason why I keep saying this console is going to be $499 based on all the talks that Phil Spencer said. If it's 600, that's the max. I can't see it going above that. That's way out of price range. That's as high as I'm willing to go because I know I can trade in. I have two Xbox Ones, by the way. I have an Xbox One S and I have a base Xbox One. I could trade both those in and at least cut the price down to about 300 and buy Scorpio. But if you start going above that, I don't know. I might have to wait for a price drop. 700, 800, not realistic. 600, 500 is more realistic. And at 500, it tells me that you've accomplished your goal. At 600, it tells me you went beyond your goal, and this is a freaking monster console. So the $399, guys, I don't expect it to be that much. I understand it's an upgrade, but the way Phil's talking about the console is kind of like, ahead of every other console out there. You will see a significant difference in comparison to what's on the market, including the PS4 Pro. It should be $499. It's a premium device. It's not for everybody. I can't stress that enough. People should not be looking for Scorpio to sell 100,000 consoles, even within a year. I truly believe this. I don't think it will sell that many just because the price alone. I think it will do well. I think it may do. Well, I never know. You never know. Xbox fans are hardcore, so we may buy a million. Who knows? But I just don't see this console doing as well as the fanboys, expect it to do. So when the fanboys start coming out talking about, oh, Scorpio flop, it only sold, 50,000 units. That's what Microsoft expected it to sell. It's not going to flop. It's a premium device. It's not for everybody. So at 500, I see it being at that price, and I think that is reasonable for what they want to deliver. De Niro Primero says, so this is a far-fetched, I know, but you think Xbox could get Kojima to make an exclusive Xbox game, given Kojima's huge following and popularity? Bro, by the time we get a game from Kojima, I'd probably be like 50. That's like 15 years from now, bro. That's crazy. There's no way. I don't see it happening. It's because Kojima takes so long to make games. Death Stranding is probably won't come out to like winter of 2018 or spring of 2019. Don't expect Death Stranding this year. I don't even know why fans even put that on a list. But Kojima takes his time with his titles. He finally has the freedom he wants. He has his own studio. It's got all these mega stars and stuff going to be in it. I don't even know what the game is about. So I don't expect him to come out and make anything for Xbox anytime soon. And I wouldn't be looking for him to. However, if he did, I would definitely put him on Perfect Dark. I wouldn't want him to make any other game but Perfect Dark. I wouldn't want no new IPs. Just give me Perfect Dark made by Kojima. I will buy it. People will buy it and eat it up. That would be sick. Um, Artcast25. Hello, Artcast. Welcome to the stream. He says Cuphead is dead. Hype is gone. This isn't 2014 anymore. And now Sony has the big games here and more coming. Well, to be honest, a lot of those games were delayed. Horizon, Near. I don't know if Neo was delayed. I think Neo wasn't delayed, but there were a lot of titles that supposed to come out in 2016 that got pushed to 2017. So I mean, I get it. They've hit the nail on the head on some titles, and they've been doing extremely well. And I give them that without question. But the hype for their titles wasn't there the first 3 years. Like, keep it 100. Everybody's talking about Sony now because Sony's killing it. Where was that talk 3 years in a row? It was all about what Microsoft was producing yearly from all the publications. Even if people hated on Xbox, they always talked about, well, Microsoft has all the games at the end of the holiday season, yada, yada, yada. Now Microsoft doesn't have any games, and now with Sony's ball, and they're going to have games going forward, and Xbox is dead. It's like, come on, bro. You talking prematurely. You need to clean that up before somebody come in and see it. You got to take your time, wait for E3 to come out, see what Microsoft is producing, see what they have up their sleeve before you can even jump forward. I think people tend to give some games too much, or shall I say, some platforms too much before the race even starts. And I'm not saying that Xbox and Sony are racing against each other. I'm just saying that to sit up here and think that Xbox may not have any good titles, and they have had good titles. If you go look back at their library of games, a lot of their titles may not have been in the 90s, but a lot of them have been ranked in the 80s, lower 80s, or higher 80s. They haven't had too many titles in the 70s or too many titles below that exclusively. So it just goes to show you that Microsoft has had some really good quality titles. Now, Sony has probably had some better rated ones as of late. Yes, the Uncharted, and then you also had Near, you got Neo, you got Horizons on. They're on a roll right now. But it's not to say that Microsoft can't produce high quality titles as well. Forza Horizon 3 being a good start. We'll see what happens at the end of the year. Never count your eggs before they hatch. This is a marathon, not a sprint. So slow down, young buck. Oh man, De Niro, you a clown. Ninja fourth, I think 150 or 50. I want to say that. Ninja 150. I guess that's what the 4 is for. 450, 450. I don't know what it is. Anyway, Ninja says, what kind of video game genre would you like to see more of on Xbox? Do you have to ask? I mean, you must be new. you must be new. First and foremost, thank you for tuning in. Definitely give us a like and a sub. You will enjoy this channel. RPGs. I don't give a damn if it's Western RPGs. I don't care if it's Eastern RPGs. I don't like strategy RPGs, and I don't like tactic RPGs. But you give me a Western RPG or Eastern RPG, I'm down with that. Microsoft needs more adventure games, more single player titles, and definitely more RPGs. Thank you, De Niro. Splinter Cell. What was I saying theory? I was thinking of the name. It was Splinter Cell Chaos Theory. That's what I was thinking. That's why I kept saying theory. Splinter Cell, correct. Splinter Cell was that title. Yeah. On the chat, I'm trying to catch up right now. Thank you, Louis. I appreciate the great show. De Niro, yep. Will Scorpios connect? Will Scorpio support a connect? Yes. Drunken Master D. Shout out to Drunken Master D, man. Good guy. Definitely check him out on Facebook. Has a very large quality gaming group on Facebook. Yes, they will, because every Xbox accessory will be backwards compatible, meaning all the Xbox One controllers will work on Scorpio and Connect will work on Scorpio as well. What's really cool is Xbox has an AR VR device coming out that's supposedly more powerful than all the VR devices on the market. And you'll be able to do both virtual reality and augmented reality at the same time or separately. And it doesn't require a camera. This is what Microsoft does. This is how they innovate. This is how they create. People don't want to give Microsoft credit when it comes to their innovations. It doesn't matter if they didn't do it first. If they're doing it better, respect it. That's what matters. Sometimes it's not about who invents the wheel. It's about how good that wheel rolls, how smooth it is, and whether you can feel the bumps. And if Xbox and their team continues to make sure that we don't feel the bumps, give them credit where credit is due. File Davican asks, if you could be any video game character, who would you be and why? Or if you could be in any video game. First of all, I would be two characters. First, I'd be Shepard because this is a little bit rated R, but Shepard gets busy. Okay, on any ship, he could have Tally, he can have Miranda, he can have Williams, he can even have the squid chick with the squid stuff on her head. Shepard gets busy. He puts it in. He gets it in. I should have said that last part, but you guys know what I'm saying. On the other end, oh man, I would probably be a Star Wars character because KOTOR is my favorite game. Um, Revan was amazing. Oh man, he was a great character. But I love Star Wars. Star Wars is one of the few franchises that I truly love. A lot of people don't know this. I'm a big sci-fi guy, man. I have a novel. I'm actually trying to talk with somebody right now to create my own graphic novel. I've been writing this book for 10 years. A lot of people don't know this about me. I'm a very creative person. It's the reason why Tick and TICGN and all this stuff exists today because I love to create. I'm a very creative person. I've been gaming for a very long time. So my mind is always twisting. I get all these ideas from anime and movies and comics and just all types of stuff. So I create my own thing. But Star Wars is one of my favorite genres, and I've always been fascinated with Star Wars, the Sith, the Jedi, the Gray. There's a lot of things we're going to be discovering in this new Star Wars series and stuff like that. So those are my two characters that I would love to be, just because the power of the Force or the dark side, and then of course Shepard because Shepard gets big, he gets busy. Oh man, that's funny. All right, look like we're coming up to look like we're coming up to the end of the show. Chris Cobra 666. Shout out to Chris, man. If you don't know who Chris is actually a part of the Trophy Like podcast, our PlayStation podcast. Make sure you give those guys a watch. These guys are the way you want to see PlayStation podcasters do it. They're talking about content. They're not trying to, one up Xbox. They're not trying to bash Xbox. These guys are trying to deliver great PlayStation content for the fans who are interested in PlayStation news and games and opinions and thoughts. That's how we get busy here at Tick Podcast and Tick Network. So make sure you go out and support those guys. Trophy Life Podcast. I'm already on episode 5, so definitely support. He asks, if you were Phil Spencer, what would you change now, like games and the system itself? Wow. I think it all depends on how much leeway I can get away with with Nadia Satella, the CEO of Microsoft. I'm sure Phil has bosses to answer to. Bosses. I'm pretty sure Phil has guys, executives over him that he has to answer to. He's the head of Xbox, but he's not the CEO of Microsoft or the VP of Microsoft. So there's clearly people he has to answer to, and be accountable for. So one of the things I would do, first of all, I would immediately start. I would make the 343 and the coalition create two new IPs. I would commission the Turn 10 to make a a racing game that either dealt with a different type of vehicle or the street sports series. You know what I'm saying? Almost Need for Speedish, but not Need for Speedish. Um, I would hire, I would request Playground to make a new either driver series just based on what Forza Horizon is, and you got characters coming out of cars and stuff. I would have them make a game similar to Driver, or have them make a game similar to some sort of game where you maybe a spy and the car has all these amazing tricked out abilities and you have to get away and you got oil slick and guns and all types of stuff like that. I would make some really cool stuff there. I would create a studio dedicated to making RPGs. I would start building a studio in Japan to make exclusive Japanese titles. Um, I would outsource. I would outsource a third party developer to make me a horror title. Um, I would reboot Banjo Conquer. I would make Cameo 2. I would make a new Saberwolf from Rare because they have a ton of IPs. Um, and some of those IPs wouldn't have to be AAA titles, but they could be AA. I would keep Recore. I would, and people are not gonna like this, I would cut Sunset Overdrive. Even though it's not theirs, Sunset Overdrive is such a unique title. It really is a unique title. I never liked it. Like I tried to like it, I really did. I just couldn't deal with the bouncing and the jumping. It was a nauseating. It was terrible. But I would definitely cut Sunset Overdrive. I would turn around. Um, I commission next would have to be sleek. Would not want a box console. I would want a console that can appeal ergonomically to the world. A lot of people think that doesn't matter. And this is why I'm right and they're wrong. The Xbox One Slim. When I said that one of the things that turned people in the East off is the size of a console, people looked at me like I was crazy. And they said, size doesn't matter. You're wrong. The look of a console and what's in a console matters a lot. You can have the most powerful console in the world, but if it can't fit the way people want it, if it can't sit sideways or stand up, if it's too bulky, if it's, if it's just something that's not as appealing, it can be a turnoff. And if you have a piece of hardware that plays similar games, 90% of the same games, and it's a bit thinner and it's slightly more powerful, people will gravitate to it, which is exactly what the PS4 was. And that's why it appeals to the Japanese the way it does. I would drop Kinect. Kinect is sort of a failure, but I would definitely figure out a way to make the camera smaller, so that way it's not as big. I don't know. Honestly, I wouldn't know what to do with it. You put so much R&D into Kinect. Like they put so much R&D into Kinect that you kind of disappointed because it never came to fruition with his games other than, to me, Dance Central. So, and maybe the early on, Connect sports titles and stuff like that. But besides that, a lot of titles didn't really take advantage of it, except for those on 360 where it was better with Connect and use your voice. I would definitely concentrate on voice as much as possible. They even have a game coming out with VR called Voice Commander, I think it is, where you play a captain on a ship and you use your voice. Everything is with voice. the VR and the AR stuff. That works well so far because this is the genre we're in. You experiment with that, you see how it goes. Um, I would do my damnedest to buy Rise, Son of Rome, and I would build that franchise and make it like Final Fantasy. I would try to hit every single era of epic battles and put a new warrior in the center of an amazing war. From Alexander the Great to the 300 to even all the way up to modern times, if possible, and things like that. If it made sense, if it makes sense, and just have it all about the gods playing with different people throughout different eras of history from the beginning of time. You can even go all the way back to the beginning of time if you want, to the Stone Age area if you wanted to. But you would just use the Rise title and add a new subtitle to it. It'd be Rise, Empires, Rise, whatever, 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 whatever. So I don't know about Halo. Clearly, I would keep Halo without question. Gears of War without question. But I would definitely make those studios create new IP so we can get those in rotation. And that's kind of what I would do with the Xbox division if I was in control of it. I would definitely try to appeal worldwide as much as I could. I wouldn't give up if a game didn't sell. I would look at how much it sold and look at what's wrong with the game, kind of like they were doing with Recore, and try to see if I can get it done a second time. If I can't, then sometimes you gotta let games go. You just can't keep holding on to a burden if it's not making you money. It's putting you in the hole. You're still running a business. Sony relies on PlayStation. Microsoft does not rely on Xbox at all. So if you have a budget, you can't just keep digging in your budget to support a game that's not going to make money. But if you believe in something, you should continue to support it and continue to try to push whatever you're supporting and make it the best it can be so it can appeal and stuff like that. And as you get niche genres and you get little pockets of people who love the games you're producing that's unique and different from what's on other consoles, you grow your base because this 100,000 people that can only get this game on your console will come, and this 100,000 people who could only get this game on your console will come, and this 200,000 people. And eventually that adds up to X of millions and millions of people over time that can only get your game on this platform. And I think that's what they should do. That's just me. But I mean, if I was the head, that's what I would do. So, I mean, that's just my opinion on it anyway. Oh man. Very quickly. Drunken Master D asks thoughts on Xbox Game Pass. Will it get a yearly subscription price for slightly cheaper than $10 a month, $120 a year? I think it will at some point, but I think when people see the $100 is more intimidating. You're thinking about marketing. And if I tell you, listen, you can get this for $99 for the year, as soon as you hit 99, people get scared. Even though 99 is not a lot of money, the fact that it's $100 on top of whatever you're purchasing seems like a lot. But if I say, hey, for $10, you can get 100 games for the month, people like, wow, that's an amazing incentive, not even realizing they're spending $120 for the whole year. So I would definitely stick with the $10 a month thing because to me, marketing wise, that makes more sense. It's actually better than saying you can get, even though you may get 450 games on PS Now streaming for $20 a month, which actually should be a way better deal. $10 a month sounds way more enticing for 100 games that rotate out monthly, just because of the simple fact that most people spend $10 on junk, going to the Chinese restaurant, going to the corner store, getting some drinks and some, whatever, people going out to get some smokes, or how people do, how dudes do. You spend $10 on crap. So imagine spending $10 on a game once a month, on 100 games once a month. That's a crazy incentive, especially for parents who don't want to spend $60 on a game monthly or every other month. Why spend 60 when you can spread that 60 out to 6 months? That's a crazy incentive. You tell any parent that, as a parent, that's a great deal. That's a great deal. So I think they should stick with it. De Niro Primero says, Cal, if you're Phil Spencer, just get me AW2. What's AW2? Advanced Warfare 2? I ain't talking about Call of Duty. Oh, Alan Wake 2. Alan Wake 2. Yeah, definitely. I would have to get Alan Wake 2 as well. Definitely have to get Alan Wake 2. Final Davikin says, use Connect to help with VR. You won't need to. The new AR VR device for Xbox doesn't need Connect. It's amazing. I don't know where they created this. I don't know what alien they have at Microsoft Studios in their A&R basement working on this technology, but they have it because clearly HTC Vive and Oculus don't. You know what's crazy about that? They have a deal with Oculus and they have a deal with, well, they don't have a deal with HTC Vive, but they open up their platform to HTC Vive and they open up their platform to all these cheap VR devices, right? They've been working with HoloLens and now they're talking about having an AR VR device. What if Microsoft was just sneakily looking at how all this crap worked and then started working on their own device? How crazy would that be? It's almost Microsoft-ish to just have them look at all these patents and all of these people working on this stuff and just say, oh man, this is what we can do to make ours better. And we're going to do this and we can do this and we can do that. And we'll just crush all of them. I could see it. I could see it happen. It would just be crazy. Oh, my bad, Chris Cole. I do apologize, man. I feel for some apparent reason I see Chris when I see that name Chris, I always get the picture mixed up because he has a black and white Viking as his image or something like that, and I get the pictures mixed up. So when I see Chris, I always think of Chris from Trophy Life Podcast. I do apologize, Cobra. My bad, but definitely, guys, go check out. I can't believe I did that. Definitely go check out Trophy Life Podcast if you're a PlayStation gamer and go support. De Niro Primero said, Cal, if you're Phil Spencer, you should make a game with the character that can control a dragon and have 4-player co-op. It would be great. It would be great. It would be. And then that studio would just take all my money and make Nier Automata. And then I'd be upset. Funny stuff. Is there a way to delete the 666? I have no idea, man. I have no idea. Let's see. BK Bed-Stuy. Shout out to Bed-Stuy, man. My family's from Bed-Stuy, St. James, man. I got family over there on St. James. I grew up over there, downtown Brooklyn. I'm from Brooklyn. A lot of people don't know that. From East New York, Brownsville. My mother was from up there, and my father was from Bed-Stuy, St. James place over there. Got a lot of family over there. Bed-Stuy says, so Sony has marketing for Destiny, Red Dead, COD, Star Wars? Yeah, bro. Pretty much. Is 4K enough to compete? I don't think 4K is enough to compete. I think it changes the narrative for the Xbox gamers and it puts them in a position of power. It puts Microsoft in a position of power and it puts Microsoft in a position to be the number one console to get third parties on. A lot of people feel like it doesn't matter because Xbox, or shall I say, Sony Studios will produce games that look amazing on their hardware and it will look better than games made on Scorpio. The problem with that is that you're limited to what the hardware can do. If one piece of hardware is more powerful than the other, it doesn't matter how good your studio is. If both studios make games that look the same, but one studio is able to achieve more things with their hardware, what do you think is going to happen? They're going to wind up pushing the limits of that game already. So that game's going to wind up turning out better overall. You never know what they'll push, but Microsoft has been able to put more power into the CPU than they've ever done before. And based on what I'm hearing with the CPU and GPU, the teraflops really isn't the big thing. I think people overstate the 6 teraflops and kind of compare it to PlayStation and say, well, the consoles aren't that different in power. But if we're to believe that Xbox had 12 gigs of RAM, you're talking about an additional 3 gigs of RAM. You're talking about over 100 more points and throughput on the CPU. I can't stress this enough. What you're talking about CPU wise is more objects on screen. You're talking about more dynamic everything, lighting, water, wind, who knows, day night cycles. You're just talking about a lot of things that you may not get in a title because you're able to do more on the CPU. So even if the games look the same, you're going to get different things in that game because the power allows it to go beyond. That's what people tend to forget. I think that's where people get confused. So, if third party take advantage of Scorpio's power like they should, then yeah, maybe we'll see a significant difference. I think we won't see the most significant difference we'll see obviously from first party, and obviously whoever is doing content like Shadow of War, which I think will probably look fantastic on Scorpio. And they're actually using the hardware for it. I think they'll do a great job as well. Let's see here. I'm trying to finish up, man. You guys keep asking questions. Perfect Dark would be a good fit with VR. No, I hope they don't do that. Chris says 4K is nice, but I'd rather have 1080p 60 frames per second. I mean, I don't know, man. It's tough. When you see 4K for the first time, you clearly see a difference. And my hat goes off to all the PC guys, because a lot of times when you see Xbox guys say 900p and 1080p, is it that different? A lot of times you see it. If you're a console gamer, you really don't see a difference. You really don't. Sure, you'll see it in 720 and 1080, but 900 and 1080, you really don't see that much of a difference. Not saying there isn't one, but you don't really see it. You have to really look and be, really look at the detail and be nitpicky about it. But 4K to 1080 is a difference. When I got a 4K TV and I watched something in 4K for the first time and went back to 1080, I never realized how blurry 1080 was until I had a 4K TV, which is actually pretty nuts to say that. It's pretty nuts to say that because 1080 looks really great. So I can imagine what 4K looks like with HDR. And that's why Microsoft is really trying to push this HDR thing, because HDR significantly changes a game more than 4K. If you can get something to 1080 with HDR, and I said this before, when I watched Gears of War for the first time on PC at E3 2016 and on Xbox One S, the PC version of the PC version, of Gears of War was running in 4K, just regular 4K. And the Xbox One S version was running in whatever it was, 900 or 1080p dynamic with HDR on. And that Xbox One S version looked so much significantly better than the 4K version. It was crazy because the color scheme, the color pop just made Gears look so lively. And Gears is such a dreary game. It's such a grayish, brownish game. So when you see HDR with that game on, it really changes how you look at the title. So if 4K and you have HDR included, it's a big, big difference. Now, yes, with 1080p, you could put more resources into things and stuff like that without question. But I think Microsoft really built this console for 4K so you can get the most perfect clarity, line for line detail. I think when people see it, and I'm hoping, I don't know, I haven't seen it. But I think when people see it, they will be highly impressed. And I think Microsoft will deliver when it comes to Scorpio. So I'm definitely excited about that. Again, I just want to make sure that people understand that yes, third party is not really up to Xbox, it's up to the devs. They could do 1080p 60 and make their games look amazingly graphically. They could do 4K 30, they could do whatever, but I know Xbox is going for 4K 60 with most of their titles. Pretty much most games you will see coming out of Xbox will either be 4K 60 or upscaled 4K 60. But 60 frames per second is what they're trying to shoot for, definitely at 4K for most titles. And I think you will see an abundance of 4K titles on Scorpio. The fact that they have a DVR play that does 4K 60 tells me a lot. It tells me a lot. It really does. So that's great to know, and I'm excited for that. So listen, man, that's it for the show. I'm very appreciative of everybody stopping out. I'm glad I was able to chat it up with you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Make sure you leave a thumbs up, a like for the podcast. This show will be on iTunes sometime tomorrow. And hopefully we'll have a Tick podcast later in the week to get a chance to talk more about Xbox and what's going on with that platform. Make sure you guys keep it locked to ticgn.com. That website is really trying to take it to the next level when it comes to the quality of content. A lot of people didn't agree with some of the things one of my writers put out there, but I just want to make things clear very quickly for those who are in the channel and know me. A lot of people didn't like my writer's content about the controllers over exclusives thing. People felt that, I was doing a disservice for Xbox. I feel like I would be doing a disservice if I told him not to write what he felt. I would be no different than the things that Xbox guys hate, whether it's IGN or any other place that does a hit piece. I would never allow anybody on the website to do anything hateful or slanderous against any platform, and we definitely try not to put any flame bait articles up or any flame bait titles up or any clickbait stuff up like that. Opinion based off of Randall Thor's thoughts on the whole thing with the controllers and stuff, whether I agree with it or not, I didn't agree with it. At the end of the day, I'm not going to stop him from expressing himself as long as it's within reason. And I wouldn't stop that for anybody at TICGN, because when I start doing that, then you can't trust me. I'm controlling things, and I don't never want to get to that point. I always want to be honest with everybody. I always want the website to be honest with everybody. And people have to understand that even though Tick Podcast is for Xbox, TICGN is a multi-platform site. We try to cater to every fan and try to do it the best way we can and try to get the most support we can for the people out there who love gaming in general. There's a lot of great content up there for everybody, not just Xbox, but PlayStation, Nintendo, and PC, guys. We have a ton of reviews, entertainment guys, a lot of entertainment news, movie reviews, comics, anime. All the stuff is there for you guys to enjoy and stuff like that. So I never want to be looked at like I'm trying to hurt the Xbox brand or anything like that. I love the Xbox brand and stuff, but you can't blame me all the time. It's an auto tweet that goes out to the fans. So I really hope that people just read it and then go ahead and hop on TICGN and leave a comment to the author. The author will respond, and you guys can duke it out there if you don't agree with something that they wrote. But listen, I give my writers the freedom to create what they want to create within reason, of course. And hopefully you guys will appreciate that and understand that everything we try to do is for the best interest and try to be the best place and media spot for everybody. So that way they don't have to worry about the BS coming from the mega sites that people feel have an agenda, because we don't. We have no ads up. We don't get paid by Microsoft. No one gets paid at TICGN. I have a staff of almost 30 plus people, and we're just passionate about gaming and Xbox and PlayStation and Nintendo, and no one gets paid. Nobody. But we do it because we know the fans need a place to go and a place to get news and podcasts to listen to that have no agenda, no defense force, just straight content and giving you the truth 24/7. So thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I will try to be back next week if I possibly can. We got so many shows now. It's hard for me to even get my own show out. That's why I stopped Tick Podcast tonight. And definitely tune in to all our shows weekly. If you ever want to game with me on Xbox, my GT is KOR space lowercase x space KAL space EL. And on PSN is KOR underscore X underscore KAL underscore EL. You can find me on both platforms. If you ever want to game or hang out or just chat it up or whatever like that, I'm always open to any of the fans or anybody who just want to chat with me. I'm just a down to earth gamer like the rest of you. Once again, thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you. Love you guys. You guys have a great night, and I will see you next week. Peace.